China is backing a monumental infrastructure project, one that could reshape the very foundations of global commerce and power. At the heart of this vision is a $7.5 billion canal slicing through the heart of Nicaragua, a project so ambitious it's been called the New Panama Canal. But this isn't just another waterway, it's a direct challenge to more than a century of American dominance in Central America, a region long considered the US's strategic backyard. The Nicaraguan canal would be longer, wider, and deeper than its Panamanian counterpart, designed to accommodate the world's largest ships, vessels too big for the Panama Canal itself. If completed, this canal could reroute global trade, making it faster and cheaper to move goods from Asia directly to the US East Coast and Europe, bypassing traditional bottlenecks and potentially saving billions in shipping costs. Yet, the project is mired in controversy. Critics question whether the funding is truly secure, raise alarms about the devastating environmental impact, and debate China's real motives. Are they economic, political, or something more? For China, this is more than just a business venture. It's a bold opportunity to flex its economic and political muscle far from home, signaling its arrival as a global superpower willing to challenge the status quo. For Nicaragua, the canal is a high-stakes gamble. It could usher in a new era of prosperity, jobs, and international relevance, or it could bring environmental disaster, displacement, and debt. For the United States, this project represents an unprecedented challenge to its strategic interests and influence in a region it has long considered its own sphere of control. As of October 2025, the project's future remains uncertain. Delays, doubts, and debates continue. But both China and Nicaragua insist they are pushing forward, determined to see their vision realized. The world is watching closely. Will this become a marvel of modern engineering and international cooperation, or a cautionary tale of ambition, overreach, and unintended consequences? The answer could redefine not just trade, but the very balance of global power for decades to come, reshaping alliances, economies, and the future of international relations. To grasp China's ambitions, we must look to Panama. For over a century, the Panama Canal has been the backbone of global maritime trade and a symbol of U.S. power. Handling 5% of world trade, it's vital for supply chains linking Asia, the Americas, and Europe. Its expansion in 2016 doubled capacity, but even now, the canal faces limits, especially with ever larger ships and water shortages. These vulnerabilities open the door for a rival. The idea of a Nicaraguan canal is centuries old, but with Chinese capital and political will, it's now a real threat to Panama's dominance. The stage is set for a new rivalry in global shipping. The question, can Panama maintain its edge, or will China's bold move change everything? The world is about to find out. The Nicaragua Canal project burst onto the scene with a stunning announcement, a 50-year concession to the HKND Group, led by Chinese billionaire Wang Jing. The plan, a 173-mile waterway, 3 times the length of Panama's, cutting through Lake Nicaragua. Progress has been slow, with financing and transparency in question. Yet, Nicaragua's government remains committed, and recent diplomatic shifts toward Beijing suggest China's backing is growing. President Ortega sees the canal as a path out of poverty. Wang Jing's motives remain mysterious. China officially keeps its distance, but its influence is unmistakable. As of late 2025, the project is showing signs of life, with renewed Chinese interest and local promotion. The world can no longer dismiss the possibility of a second Chinese-backed canal through the Americas. The Nicaragua Canal is more than just an ambitious engineering project. It's rapidly becoming a geopolitical flashpoint that could reshape the balance of power in the Western Hemisphere. Stretching across Nicaragua, this canal promises to rival the legendary Panama Canal, but its significance goes far beyond shipping lanes and infrastructure. For the United States, the prospect of a Chinese-controlled canal in the heart of Central America is a direct challenge to its traditional sphere of influence and a potential threat to its national security. The U.S. has long considered this region its strategic backyard, and any shift in control is viewed with deep suspicion. Officially, Washington raises concerns about the project's financial viability, environmental impact, and lack of transparency. Behind closed doors, however, U.S. officials are far more alarmed by the rapid expansion of China's presence and influence so close to home, fearing it could undermine decades of American dominance in the region. The canal could provide China's Navy with unprecedented, faster access between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, potentially shifting the global strategic balance. This new route would allow Chinese military and commercial vessels to bypass choke points and project power in ways that were previously impossible. For China, the canal is a cornerstone of its Belt and Road Initiative, a bold symbol of its global ambitions. It's not just about trade, it's about reducing reliance on the US-aligned Panama Canal and establishing a foothold in a region historically dominated by Washington. Nicaragua, eager for investment and international relevance, is betting on Beijing's support, even as this gamble strains its already tense relationship with the United States. Meanwhile, Panama, long the undisputed gateway between oceans, now faces competition it never anticipated, threatening its economic and strategic standing. Central America has become a stage for great power rivalry, with every diplomatic maneuver and infrastructure deal closely monitored in both Washington and Beijing. The stakes are enormous, and the region's future is being shaped by decisions made in distant capitals. For the people of Central America, the stakes are deeply personal: economic opportunity, national sovereignty, and the risk of becoming pawns in a high-stakes global contest. Jobs, livelihoods, and the very identity of nations hang in the balance as superpowers vie for control. The outcome of this contest will not only determine the future of shipping and trade, but will also shape the political and economic destiny of the entire hemisphere for generations to come. The United States must now adapt to a rapidly changing reality, while China tests the limits of its power and influence far from its own shores. Both nations are recalibrating their strategies as the world watches. The Nicaragua Canal is the latest, and perhaps boldest move in a high-stakes game of global strategy, where every decision could tip the balance. As the world's attention turns to Central America, one question remains: who will blink first in this new era of great power competition? If the Nicaragua Canal opens, it could mark the beginning of a dramatic new era for global shipping. The industry as a whole stands to gain the most, as a new route would introduce much-needed competition to the world's busiest trade corridors. Increased competition between the Panama and Nicaragua canals could drive down transit fees, making it cheaper for companies to move goods. Faster passage through the region would also speed up global trade, reducing shipping times for countless products. For companies shipping goods from Asia to the US East Coast, the savings could be substantial. Lower transportation costs might translate into reduced prices for American consumers, and more reliable delivery schedules could benefit retailers and manufacturers alike. But for Panama, the stakes are high. The country's economy relies heavily on canal tolls and related services, and a rival waterway could threaten this vital source of income. Even if the Nicaragua Canal only attracts the world's largest ships, those too big for the Panama Canal's older locks, the impact could be significant. Panama could see billions of dollars in lost revenue, forcing the country to rethink its economic strategy and possibly invest in new infrastructure or industries. Meanwhile, China would gain a powerful new tool for its global ambitions. By financing and helping to build the canal, China could secure strategic leverage over a key trade route. This would allow China to expand its economic reach deep into Central America, strengthening its influence in the Western Hemisphere and opening new markets for Chinese goods and investment. U.S. East and Gulf Coast ports could experience a boom as more ships choose the faster, potentially cheaper route to deliver goods. In contrast, West Coast ports might see a decline in traffic as shipping lines reroute vessels to take advantage of the new canal, impacting local economies and jobs. Caribbean nations, strategically located along the new route, could emerge as vital logistics hubs, attracting investment and creating new opportunities for growth. The construction of the Nicaragua Canal would trigger a global realignment of trade flows, shifting economic opportunities and challenges across continents. Winners and losers will emerge not just in Central America, but in every corner of the world, as businesses and governments adapt to the new reality. The ripple effects of this new shipping era will be felt worldwide, reshaping the future of global commerce for decades to come. For Nicaragua, the canal is pitched as a ticket to prosperity, tens of thousands of jobs, new cities, and a potential doubling of GDP. But the risks are huge. The HK&D deal gives sweeping powers to a foreign company, raising fears of lost sovereignty and debt-trap diplomacy. Critics warn Nicaragua could swap one dependency for another, with Beijing holding the reins. The canal's route threatens to displace tens of thousands, sparking protests from farmers and indigenous communities. The social divide is deep, pitting national dreams against local rights and traditions. If the project succeeds, it could transform Nicaragua. If it fails, the country could be left with debt, unrest, and environmental ruin. The stakes are existential for Nicaragua's future. The nation stands at a crossroads, prosperity or peril. The canal's fiercest opposition comes from environmentalists. Dredging through Lake Nicaragua threatens the region's largest freshwater source and unique wildlife. The route cuts through rainforests and the Mesoamerican biological corridor, endangering countless species. Deforestation and potential oil spills could devastate fragile habitats. The government promises mitigation, but critics doubt the project's transparency and fear irreversible damage. International conservation groups have joined local protests, making this a global environmental flashpoint. The canal's fate is now a symbol of the clash between development and preservation. The world is watching to see if nature or industry will prevail. Experts see the canal as a high-risk, high-reward gamble. Dr. Margaret Myers argues that even an unfinished canal gives China a strategic foothold in the Americas. For Beijing, the geopolitical value may outweigh commercial losses. Transport scholars warn of immense logistical and financial hurdles, and fierce competition from the expanded Panama Canal. The project's fate depends less on market forces and more on China's political will. If China commits fully, obstacles could be overcome. If not, the canal may remain a costly dream. The world is watching Nicaragua as a test case for China's global ambitions. The outcome will reveal much about the future of international power. The Nicaragua Canal story is a microcosm of our era, ambition, power, and the collision of global interests. Its fate will shape boardrooms, governments, and shipping lanes worldwide. For Nicaragua, it's a shot at transformation. For China, a bid for global leadership. For the US, a challenge to adapt. The human cost, displaced communities and threatened ecosystems reminds us what's at stake. Will the canal be built? Will opposition halt it? The answers will define the new rules of global power. This is a test of strength and strategy between old and rising powers. The world is watching, and the next chapter is unwritten. The outcome will echo for generations.